Hello, my name is Pew Pew Choo Choo, and welcome to the last episode of our playthrough. Inside this scenario, Operation Case Blue, we are supposed to penetrate the Soviet lines and attack them with utmost speed. Like the scenarios before, we will be conducting a pincer attack on two fronts. Inside the scenario, we are introduced to fixed emplacements such as the two AT guns you saw there, and Italian infantry for ourselves, which are fairly low value units. We saw there that our units were actually resupplied by airborne supplies. Because of the rapid advance inside this scenario, our troops require airborne logistical support. As always, I like to conduct my attack from one place. I start off in the north here by advancing down to our most immediate objective located in the center of the map. We're supposed to take it by the second turn of this scenario, so we've got to work fast. In this playthrough, you might see me speeding up the game by a little bit and skipping some of the movement turns. That's simply because this scenario is actually quite long in comparison. Here you can see that I'm reshifting my lines and sending the majority of my tanks down to the city of Rostov. Rostov is an important objective. It's worth 200 prestige points, double the normal worth of an objective. In particular, it's the supply point of the entire Soviet army, or at least the frontal portion of it here. If we're able to capture it in a short amount of time, we will be able to starve out the entire Soviet front. Continuing onwards, I'm going to be putting more and more logistic capability into the northern sector here. Even though we can parachute supplies into the bulk of our forces here, it's generally considered a better idea to be able to supply from a given point rather than to absolutely depend on those airborne drops. We're very close to taking the second objective here. Now that we've taken this point, we need to protect it. I don't want a repeat of what happened to the objective inside the Second Battle of Karkov, where even though we took the objective, the Soviets managed to recapture it, so I'm going to leave one Panzer division inside that place to keep hold of it. Here you'll see that there's a large weather pattern on the battlefield in the middle of it, in particular. That weather pattern restricts our movement of supply, and it also inhibits our ability to cross the river near Rostov. My plan for the northern front is to simply rotate units in and out. Since our divisions can go one turn without supply drops, in theory, our two supply drops per turn should be able to maintain a sizable force inside the north, although it will always be useful to rotate units in and out. Since this operation requires very deep penetrations into the enemy's line, we will have to be rather conservative with those airdrops. I suspect that we'll be also needing them on the southern front on Rostov. Inside this mission we get passive reinforcements every few turns. While it is useful to have a large number of troops on the front, realistically, because we are dependent on airdrops, the problem remains that we must supply a larger force with the same limited amount of air support. However, in terms of the game, we can simply rotate units in and out of combat as we see fit. On the southern front there, you see that I repaired the bridge on the River Dawn. I believe the river is the River Dawn. Establishing beachheads or bridgeheads across rivers is a difficult task. This will most likely take another turn or so to finish. It's a good thing we have up to 5 turns to actually take the city. You can see that while we are not taking a lot of casualties, our units cannot move across the river due to the zone of control that the enemy units exert onto the bridge. The Soviet AI made a very erratic choice here. Inside the north, you'll see that the Soviet infantry brigades are deployed very far out from the objectives. Even though they have fixed emplacements, they only are able to defend such a limited amount of area with those troops. It's going to be very easy to push through that little defensive line and into the enemy's rear. Now that we've made a beachhead across the river, it should be a lot easier to continue pushing through Rostov. Generally speaking, inside these breaching operations, we should always wait for the enemy to assault us instead of taking the initiative and attacking them. But since Unity of Command is an introductory game, I've elected to use every single move I can in order to achieve the decisive victory goals. So whenever I can, I will attack. Here inside the northern portion of the front, you'll see that the enemy is starting to run out of supplies. Now that they are running out of supplies, I move my units in to destroy them. I find it odd how inside Unity of Command, infantry have such a minuscule value in attacking. Generally speaking, it's supported with studs. Infantry should be decently effective at taking territory, although of course it is better to advance with tanks. Since we breached into the enemy's rear, I decided to go for both objectives simultaneously, so long as we continue to enjoy the benefits of airborne support both logistically and as combat close support. I think we will be able to take all 3 of those objectives in the next turn. The enemy seems to be also getting reinforcement in the form of T-34 tank brigades, or rather divisions. I should note that we're very, very close to Stalingrad at this point. It's actually just off the map's edge. Here I made the mistake. I noticed that the bullseye objective marker is kind of ambiguous on the 2 tiles. So I attacked the tile most most eastwards, only to discover that it wasn't actually the objective. The objective is actually a little to the west. That's going to cost us a little bit of prestige, but oh well. At least we have Rostov before the penalty sets in. Rostov is a hard fight. The city is guarded by infantry and an NDKD support unit, which inhibits the ability for the enemy to retreat. We continue to increase our logistical capability in the north for the sake of being able to rotate units in and out of combat efficiently. One thing that we had to start taking note of is the fact that we are running fairly close to the deadline on the objectives, and as well as keeping our supplies up to date at this point. The problem with airdrops is that you need to cycle your units through the supply starvation progress in a way that makes sure that the most amount of units are able to fight at one time. Since we're trying to cover such a broad front with so many units out of supply, it will be very difficult to be able to ensure that we are able to attack with the units inside the zone outside of our logistical range. I want to try to avoid problems with us being so far out of supply that if any little thing that goes out of plan, if it causes a supply issue, then our entire line will be essentially broken because the synchronization isn't there. We're so close to our objectives at the moment, but like I said, if supply issues persist, we might not be able to take them on the next turn. In the end, it looks like we are going to be able to get supplies to our troops, and since the game finishes as soon as we take our objectives, it looks like this is going to be another German decisive victory. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. This is Pew Pew Choo Choo. Later on I will be also doing an AAR, maybe a live commentary of Unity of Command Red Turn. I will see you guys then, and be sure to subscribe and like the video if you'd like. Bye bye!